All right, get on your gym shorts, everybody. Jacksonville's retirement coach is here. It's time to get whipped into shape financially and maybe in other sorts, too. The host of this is Adam Wolf. He's on with us, president. That's his show. He better be on with us. He's the president, CPA, and CFP of Wolf Retirement Navigation. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, and you can get in touch with Adam and the team. Free portfolio analysis. Do it right now. Unless you're not driving. Don't do it if you're driving. But wolfretirement.com. Save it for when you're parked or back home. Adam and the team want to get you there. How you doing this good day, Adam?
Oh, outstanding, Doug. Outstanding. How you been?
I've been great, thank you. And I know we've been busy and paddling hard to start the new year. One thing that you come back for the holidays, you got calls to make up, appointments to get on, and you had to come right up to Atlanta before we got walloped or at least brushed by a winter storm here to have our Impact Partnership kickoff, and got to see, I know a lot of old friends there, but also some pretty good sights too.
Yeah, a financial kickoff. It was great. We had a lot of great guest speakers, and it's a great time to surround ourselves with 100+ other like-minded financial professionals and investment advisors, and had a great lineup of speakers and breakout sessions and lots of great takeaways to help clients in the business and personally, focused on clients for 2025.
Did you get a chance to have an interaction with Coach K? I know some people got pictures taken and things like that, and I heard what he had to say up there. Mike Krzyzewski was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, Coach Krzyzewski was great. I was on the second row from the front. Usually I sit. Yeah, Doug, don't get too excited. I usually sit in the back because it's closest to the the door and the bathroom and the water, and but I was sitting up at the front for this one. I grew up. A lot of my clients know this. I grew up in North Carolina and Virginia, and but what they don't know is I was a big Duke fan when I lived in North Carolina.
No way. Okay.
And I pulled for Duke because my two buddies in elementary school, they were huge UNC fans. One of them was the cousin of a gentleman who played for UNC, and so I would pull for Duke just to mess with them. But then I became pretty big fans of Duke back with the Christian Laettner and Grant Hill and Bobby Hurley days, and I was a big fan of basketball. So that was cool to see him talk about leadership and how he led teams and how he grew his brand with Duke, and he no longer is with Duke in the capacity of as a coach, but he's still behind the scenes, and he's also a professor at the business school, and he's also running has great leadership abilities and capabilities and responsibilities with USA Basketball with the Olympic team. So it's really awesome to see him live.
That's really cool. Both Coach K there and also, and I'll just give it a quick plug, the Kyle Pease Foundation, Brent and Kyle Pease. Kyle has basically is a quadriplegic because of a certain kind of palsy that's wrenched his appendages, and his brother Brent includes him in doing these marathons. They root each other on and actually carries Kyle. Brent carries Kyle through running marathons, and eventually they've actually qualified for Ironman triathlons and so forth. They had a really incredible story about overcoming obstacles. So quick plug you could Google PEASE, Kyle Pease Foundation, and figure out there. And they try to help other people with the same kinds of disabilities be able to compete and have regular life.
Yeah, unbelievable people. I have never met Kyle, but Brent, he's been involved as a coach for the 29029 hikes that I've been doing for the last 5 years, and Brent's been on there at a mountain when I've been pretty much at my low point to get me through. And so what he's done to raise awareness for his brother's affliction and money for folks, it's unbelievable. So my hat goes off to Kyle and Brent and their foundation.
Taking what could be considered a really bad lot in life and making something big out of it. The Pease family has done that. So last episode we talked about having enough money to retire. I suggest checking that out. And basically, Adam, you go over the different questions you should be asking, or the questions that you, a financial advisor who's been in this industry for over 25 years, would ask, and just other ways to determine that right number. Well, this episode we're going to talk about if you need a tax planner or not. And maybe the first question, if you have an advisor right now, is, are you even going to the right kind? Well, Norm Macdonald uses basically a really circuitous and extremely long joke that we're only going to play a part of to talk about showing up at the right professional or not. Check it out.
He says, Doc, sometimes I feel like a spider, even though I'm a moth. Just barely hanging on to my web with an everlasting fire underneath me. I'm not feeling good. And so the doctor says, Moth, man, you're troubled, but you should be seeing a psychiatrist. Why on earth did you come here? And then the moth said, because the light was on.
That's the infamous Norm Macdonald moth joke where it starts with, did you hear about the moth that went into the podiatrist's office? And it goes on and on with all his different problems, and none of them had to do with his feet, obviously, because he's a moth. So, yes. But I think it's easy for a regular person not in the industry, Adam, like me, to go, oh, all these guys and women, they count the money the same. And not everybody is qualified to be a tax planner. So what should you look for in an advisor's initials afterwards, or what kind of practice would actually handle the taxes? And then, of course, how do you determine if you need one?
Well, let me start off by saying, Doug, there's people think of tax planning. They think of tax preparation. I mean, most folks for the first time who haven't had any experience with it. And the tax preparation is really, something you do at the end of the year. It's in the rear view. It's already happened. It's an accounting. And if you didn't pay in as much tax that you should have, then you owe, and vice versa. You get a refund back if you paid in too much. That's tax preparation. Tax planning is looking through that windshield 1,000 miles down the road to try to get there efficiently and fast and avoid any kind of trouble. And so, in the industry, when you say financial services, it's very broad. And let me equate it. Like, I've been doing my first tax return I did for a fee in 1999. And so when you look at the retirement planning, it's the number one expense you have in retirement, Doug, is, for most people, is your federal tax. So why not focus on that to reduce it as much as possible, not just this year, but in future years, to where you pay the least amount? Not everybody can do that. And not everybody's qualified to do it. And not everybody has the experience to do it. They may say they can help with tax planning, but be careful. You want to have somebody who's been doing it for a while and who understands it at the individual level. And I'll tell you, I'm a CPA. I do my own individual tax return, but I have a business CPA that helps me with my business, that prepares my business tax return, because and does my business planning. So when it comes to taxation, so you need to be careful who you've hired and who you choose to help you with the tax aspect, which is the number one expense in your retirement, to reduce that expense as much as possible.
To reduce it as much as possible. So how does somebody know if they need one or not? Maybe someone has a really simple life and they don't have a ton of assets, or they just have things in one big giant bucket and not a bunch of different ones. How do you know if you actually need a tax planner versus preparer?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, if you're still working, and let's just say you're not self-employed, you don't have your own business, you're just, you're a W-2 employee. There's very few things you can do as a W-2 employee, especially after the latest tax act happened after 2020, is they did away with many deductions, and they increased the standard deduction to where you weren't able to itemize anymore. And so most folks file tax returns now with a standard deduction. It's over 90% in the country. And so there's very few things you can do as a W-2 employee. But as you get closer to retirement, where now you're reliant on Social Security, maybe a pension, but more importantly, pulling money from your savings, withdrawing money from your assets to live off of, you don't know if those have a bunch of taxes built into them. You don't know if you're taxed along the way. You don't know if it's a tax-free pool of money. That is where, when you start to say, hey, I'm retiring, I'm getting close to that point, how do I take money out of my assets efficiently? That's when you need to talk with somebody, in my opinion.
Sure. And then how do you help? What does, in your case, a CPA and a certified financial planner, what do you all do to actually ask people these questions and help suss out the right moves?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's taking an inventory of what you have, whether it comes to income, and it comes down to Social Security. Maybe you have a pension. Maybe you're still working. Maybe you want to do part-time work, not because you have to, because you want to. You take a look at the income sources, dividends, interest, and you see how that's all parsed out. And then you do an inventory of the assets. The assets, many people have 401ks or traditional IRAs or rollover IRAs from previous employers that have not been taxed yet. Some may have Roth tax-free IRAs as well, and or brokerage accounts or savings accounts that are taxed along the way. So taking a look at your income and then looking at the assets and see what box they fit in. Do they fit in tax deferred, haven't been taxed yet? Number two, tax free, or taxed as you go in the year you earn the interest and the income. So that you lay that out to then do a projection on how much we can expect it to pay in taxes, the least amount possible. We make tweaks to make sure that over your lifetime, you are paying the least that you have to legally here based on current tax law.
Well, right. And of course, yeah, we mean legally. We don't mean sticking it under the couch and just choosing not to pay it. Like, you remember that? I don't know. I'm going way back here. Remember the scene in Happy Gilmore where his grandma didn't pay the taxes, and he's like, "Grandma, why didn't you pay the taxes?" She goes, "I didn't have any money." Well, that's a good reason, I guess.
Yeah, the bank had to sell the house.
Yeah. And
oh,
he became a
gosh.
famous golfer. Yeah, so we like to laugh on this show, too. So what else does someone need to know in this field? What is a tax planner, and do they need one? What are some other things maybe that someone should look out for?
Yeah, sometimes it's just not saving taxes based on the tax law or, structuring the right way to save the taxes. And many times we can't do a whole hell of a lot in the first year because it's only 1 year. And
Yeah.
it took you decades to get many years to save up for retirement. It's going to take some little bit of time to get your tax bill as efficient as possible. It's almost like you're dollar cost averaging into an efficient tax plan. And Doug, the way I look at it is we're not just saving taxes along the way, but we're avoiding mistakes. And there's so many different mistakes that have penalties assessed to them. Or I'll give you an example. A client came to me and said, if I pull out money, I need $30,000. I'm taking my family on this trip. I'm bringing the grandkids. I'm doing this wonderful trip. Where should I pull it from? Okay. And a lot of times you may say, I just want to pull it from my IRA and yada, yada. I told, based on the numbers, and we projected and we crunched the numbers, that $30,000, if they took it from their IRA, it was going to cost them 10% more in additional taxation because they just jumped a bracket. And so we pulled some from there to utilize the rest of their 12% bracket. And then we pulled the rest from their brokerage account that mostly had all the taxation already incurred for the year. So we were able to save significant money in 2024 to get them the $30,000 that they needed. That's why you have a tax planner, Doug, to save money like that.
Bracketology. All right. That's the, we talk about that with March Madness, but buddy, April Madness right there. Okay. Bracketology. You don't want to do something brash or all at once like I would want to do it all, make it easy, right? One fell swoop. Well, not with a 10% surcharge. I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
So someone's hearing all this and probably they're walking away. Not that these aren't great answers, but really this is just the portal into the questions to ask. So they may suddenly have 20 more questions, Adam. What do you recommend they do to interact with you, and how can Wolf Retirement Navigation help?
Yeah, you give us a call and you get on my calendar. We sit down together. We crunch the numbers. We go over your questions, get to know each other, and we build out a Retire Smart plan that takes into account all the different risks of a typical retirement, which is the risk of running out of money, having too much market risk for potential for losing too much money in retirement, tax risk, which is the theme of today's podcast, healthcare risk, which is healthcare and long-term care, Medicare, that type of thing. In addition to estate planning risk of where you want your stuff to go when you're no longer here. So how to do that efficiently. And we cover all those bases and we answer questions along that whole gamut.
Tax planning is so important there. So if you want that free portfolio analysis and then to dig into these tax questions, go to wolfretirement.com, and you mentioned calling there, Adam, 904-944-5828, right there out of Jacksonville. Well, thank you so much for just beginning to dig into this, and I'm sure a lot of people will hear this and want to get your way. By the way, folks, if you do hear this and you're like, okay, I got it, but you know like 2 or 3 other people in your life that also might need to at least ask the questions, we'll send them the link to this episode, and note that we're on Apple or Spotify. You know, maybe they have a Droid, they don't want to use Apple or whatever it is. We're on Apple and Spotify, and under the podcast, or under the media tab rather, on wolfretirement.com. Adam, I appreciate your time and your expertise here.
Thank you so much, Doug. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks to our producer, Daniel Sallerson, for getting this published and out into cyberspace. And thank you all for listening to Jacksonville's Retirement Coach. We'll have another episode coming your way here very shortly.
Investment advisory services offered through Coil Capital LLC, a registered investment advisor. Wolf Retirement Navigation LLC and Coil Capital LLC are not affiliated. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect against loss in periods of declining values. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or to predict future performance. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Consult your financial professional before making any investment decision. This information is designed to provide general information on the subjects covered. It is not, however, intended to provide specific legal or tax advice and cannot be used to avoid tax penalties or to promote, market, or recommend any tax plan or arrangement. Please note that Wolf Retirement Navigation LLC and its affiliates do not give legal or tax advice. You are encouraged to consult your tax advisor or attorney. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurer. Any references to protection or benefits or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products or services. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and not offered by Coil Capital LLC. Florida Insurance License Number W016816.